All right, guys, thank you for attending our online webinar on budgeting. We're going to talk about what a budget is, why it's necessary, and then I'll go over a couple cool example budgets and some neat tricks and tools that we can use when we're going to create and then monitor a budget. All right, so let's jump right into it. First of all, we need to define what a budget is. So online, there's three really good definitions defining a budget. So keep an eye on the bolded words in all of these definitions. I'll be repeating them a lot over this presentation. So the first of which is an estimation of revenue and expenses over a specified future period of time and is usually compiled and reevaluated on a periodic basis. All right. The second of which is the amount of money that is available for a particular purpose. A little simpler definition, but still does the trick. And the last of which is a statement of estimated income and expenses based on future plans and objectives. It's a really good word to use in the definition is objectives. All right. So, well, now we know what a budget is. Well, why do we need it? All right. Well, it makes you aware where your money is going. I always tell people that knowing is half the battle when it comes to setting up a budget and controlling expenses. It helps to organize everything, right? If you know where your money's going, then you can take that next step to organize, and that organization helps to prevent overspending. All right. Preventing overspending, you now have control over your money. All right. And now that you have control over your money, you can properly plan. All right. Now that you can properly plan. It helps keep you focused not only on the long-term goals but short-term ones. It's a frequent visual reminder. You have to go in and look at your budget, so you're also seeing these goals. All right. And then it's also an early warning system. So if an emergency, pops up or is going to pop up, you kind of have a little bit of a head start on it. All right. So that's why we need a budget. So let's talk about items to include in a budget. The first step, and this is a really important one, is including your net take-home income, your net income. You're not your gross. It's not what you make. It's what you get to keep at the end of the day. And this is really important when setting up your budget from the get-go. If your pay varies, I would say average it out and then stay on the conservative side. This goes for people who earn commissions and it fluctuates. Average it out over a 12-month period. Take that monthly number and then try to keep it, on the conservative side. All right. Next step, fixed expenses. These are the expenses that are not changing every month, the same ones. So your rent, your mortgage, whatever that is, car payment, student loans, insurance payments, cell phone, debt, loans, anything that's staying the same, including fixed utilities. Some people have water and sewage bills if you live in a town that might be the same every month. And then fixed entertainment, a big one that people forget. That Netflix subscription, ESPN Plus, Hulu, there's still monthly bills that have to get paid, even if they're on auto pay and they're out of sight, out of mind. You got to include them in the budget. Next step, variable expenses. These are the ones that fluctuate. So we're talking utilities like electric, vehicle gasoline, groceries, travel expenses, dining out, other entertainment, and then shopping non-necessities. So this would be, fun clothes or expenses, right? And then a big thing that people don't like to include in the budget, I think is really important, is your savings. Almost treat it as an expense, but keep it separated. So when people save, this should be the first thing they save for, is that emergency reserves, that 3 to 6 months of income if something were to happen to you, that you could still support yourself and your family. Our next group of savings, itemized savings. This is, I like to call it the fun savings, new vehicle, vacation. I want to get a new TV, a PlayStation, whatever it is, have that categorized. All right. And then the last step, savings towards investments. So if you have after tax contributions towards your Roth, non-IRAs, or if you make a deductible contribution to your IRA, it's still money coming out of that net take home pay. So we want to account for it. All right. And then the last category is unexpected expenses. So headlight goes out. This is a big one. You forgot to buy a birthday gift. All these things are these small little expenses that pop up every month that still have an impact on your budget and you still need to account for. All right. So now we know what to include in the budget. Here's the big thing. You have to hold yourself accountable to your budget, because the budget doesn't do any good if you're not going in there, recording your expenses, monthly, and then sticking to your goals. So you have to make that budget habitual, whether it's daily, monthly, or weekly, however you do it. You have to go in there and record those expenses, and you have to make it a habit. All right. If that budget, that first couple months, first month, first year, even your budget's not lining up perfectly, you can't panic and quit. All right. It is a moving puzzle. It's going to take a few months, sometimes longer, to perfect and figure out where you're at. And as tough as it may be, you have to look at it like you're a third person looking into that budget. You have to look at it objectively, and sometimes you have to make decisions that are tough. All right. And then here we go. Reward yourself. So all those fun savings goals that we talked about, make sure that when you hit the $500 you've saved up for a new TV, you go use it, or you go on that vacation or whatever it is, because it's a reminder that, hey, this budget works and I can get to the fun stuff in an efficient and responsible way. All right. So let's talk about some tools. So Microsoft Excel, tried and true way to budget. It's my personal favorite, but if you're a little bit more tech savvy or like to use the apps on your phone, these are three good ones: Clarity, Mint, and Pocket Guard. They'll link to your bank account if you download them. There's obviously the upgradable pro versions that go into a little bit more detail, but either way, they do the same trick. If you're spending too much at the bar, you're spending too much going shopping, you'll get a notification once a month that said, hey, you spent $700 on shopping this month, or hey, you spent $452 on dining out this month. Either way, that goes back to that first thing. Knowing is half the battle. So we want to know, at least, even if that's what gets you going into budgeting, is just downloading one of these apps, linking your bank account to it so they can say, hey, you're spending too much here, you're spending too much here. Knowing is half the battle. All right, so I'm going to go ahead and switch over to Excel and show you guys our example budget. If I can get over here. All right, so let's switch over there. So this is a cool budget that I use and I recommend to all of our clients. It's on Microsoft Excel. If you go into Excel templates and just Google or search personal budget, this is one of the first ones that comes up. So it's a really cool interactive budget. So to explain what's going on here, we have our percentage of income spent. We have that total monthly income, expenses, savings, cash balance, and then neat little graph. So all the formulas are pre-programmed in here. So all you have to do is come down here and enter these numbers. So in this example hypothetical budget, I have our first step, my monthly average take-home income. I've entered in this amount, right? So this is our starting base. All right, so let's jump over to expenses. Some of these are fixed and some of these are variable. We'll dive a little bit more into that in the second sheet. So I've entered in mortgage, rent, expected amounts for some of these variable ones: electric, vehicle gas. This is what I want to spend. I want to keep it around that. Cell phone, all the way down to groceries. Now, this planned month, these numbers are going to change probably as you get more comfortable with your budget, but we want to have at least a starting point. Then we have over here our monthly savings. So we want to make sure we're putting a portion into that emergency reserve. And then you can see some of these fun itemized savings. All right. So let's jump over. Let's say we get to the end of February. Let's time to record. So I still have this averaged out take-home income. I've got my fixed expenses still put in there, but I've highlighted all of the variable expenses. So come to the end of the month, electric. How much did it cost? Well, the electric bill was $98. $98 was a lot less than 170. I did great there. Let's go ahead and change this as completely optional, but let's go ahead and change that to green. All right, vehicle gas. Well, I spent $450 in February on vehicle gas. Well, how much did I want to spend? Only wanted to spend $300. It's all right. Let's not panic. Let's just mark it. Let's mark it as red. Okay, groceries. Let's say I spent $400 on groceries. How are we doing? Well, I only wanted to spend $600, so that's green. That's good. All right, let's go down to our next one. Dined out. Let's say I hardly dined out. I only spent $50 on dining out this month. What was my goal? 200. I wanted to stay under. That's green. All right, other entertainment. Let's say I spent $100 on going to the movies or whatever it was. Still under 150. make it green. Shopping, let's say I didn't shop at all. That's obviously going to be green. And let's say the water bill, $80, let's say it was right on. We'll do no fill for that. All right, so now that I have all of my fixed and variable expenses recorded, let's jump over to savings. Well, now I know, look, now I know how much cash is left at the end of the month. After all of these bills are paid, I know exactly, down to the dollar, how much I have left. So what's our priority here is emergency reserves, right? $400. So let's go ahead and dump $400 in emergency reserves. Do we have enough for the next thing on our list? Saving up for a new vehicle. Do we have that $300 that we plan to save? We do. Let's mark it down. New TV, $50. It's there. The Costa Rica trip. We have that $200. We do. And then the Christmas, I always like to include Christmas in the budget because you don't want to get caught in December and not having that money saved up. So Christmas, how much do we want to save? This month, only $100. We can definitely do that. So now I've recorded everything. All of these, I hit my savings goals, right? So I know after all these savings goals are hit, I know after all my expenses are recorded, I know how much cash I have left. So I have $609 that either I can dump into an extra savings for the month, right? Or I can keep going and then maybe adjust this plan month, right? Maybe I can up. Where was I over? I spent too much on vehicle gas. Maybe I need to increase that vehicle gas allotted amount because I know I can hit it. I have $600 left extra at the end of the month. Or maybe you just let cash build up. It's entirely up to you. But here we go. Remember, knowing is half the battle. So that's the big piece, is just knowing. So this is a great budgeting tool. It's just called the Personal Budget on Excel. I use it all the time, and it gives you a great snapshot of what's going on. So let's go back over to the PowerPoint to wrap up. So to wrap things up, why do we need a budget? Really, remember, knowing is half the battle, gives you control, makes you aware, and it lets you properly plan for not only short-term expenses, but long-term expenses. So items to include in that budget. Remember, net income. It's what you get to keep. It's not what you make. Fixed expenses, variable expenses, savings, and then unexpected expenses. I didn't have the unexpected expenses in our example in Excel, but maybe you have an extra category in there to plug in, one that's pre-filled out. Maybe I allot $100 extra per month for things I just forget about. Like I said, headlight goes out, birthday gifts you forgot to buy. Make sure it's accounted for. Hold yourself accountable. Remember, make it habitual. Go in there and record. It's not fun always to start, but once you get in the habit, it's going to feel weird to not record an expense. All right. It's only going to help you out long term. All right. And go ahead and use those tools that technology provides. So Excel has that pre-formulated spreadsheet ready for you to go ahead and use, or there's apps like Clarity or Pocket Guard or Mint that you can link to your bank account. Use the tools technology provides. It's 2020. We have them available, and it's only going to make you a better saver and a better spender. So without any further ado, that is our webinar on budgeting. Thank you for taking a listen. And if you have any questions, go ahead and reach out to anybody at our firm, and we'll be happy to set something up. So thank you for your time, and you have a wonderful rest of your day.